publicly humiliates her several times, and some sources say he even tried to have his own mother poisoned. After a year of ruling,
Whoa!
Al-Hadi died.
History of Baghdad, the world's greatest
Get access to my video streaming
city.
service, Nebula, when you sign up for Curiosity Stream using the link in the description.
I tried
This
Curiosity
is
Stream and Nebula. They were meh.
7 million people. This sprawling urban jungle is the second largest city in the Arab world after Cairo. But between the
Oh my gosh, Irish.
skyscrapers and honking
What is with all of these Irish? What's with all the Celtic people? What is with all the Celtic people just covering the Middle East?
cars,
I've been reacting to it, man.
this city's magnificent medieval past. This once round city's walls crumbled long ago, but it was here 1,000 years ago that brilliant scientists,
1,000
architects,
years.
writers and merchants of different races and religions made massive contributions to the knowledge of humanity. Back when Paris and London were home to just 20,000 people, over 1 million Baghdadis lived here, among canals, libraries and palm trees.
Holy crap! I'm listening to this guy, and it's like I'm listening to someone from my country. But then I'm like, oh wait, no, he's not.
So, what is the history of Baghdad? What's a house of wisdom? And what does it have to do with medieval robots trying to get everyone drunk? Well,
I mean,
let's find out.
I know Baghdad is like super important. I just don't know how too much. I mean, I know that there's like Mesopotamia is like the cradle of human civilization. So
632 CE, and the Prophet Muhammad has just died. And he left behind a religion called Islam that was adopted by his people, the Arabs. Do you know what I was thinking? Do you know what we should do? Conquer everything. Oh, our God! I was thinking the same thing. And well, they
oh
did.
our God.
This is 11,100,000 square kilometers of land.
Crazy how they almost made it all the way to Western Europe. Mad. Imagine if they made it to freaking Britannia. Freaking hell. We got Islamic Britannic Caliphate. Oh man, dude, what would that look like? What would Britain be today, man?
Spanning 3 continents. It's been like 90 years.
That is actually wild. He pronounces everything like, oh my goodness, like this guy is not talking proper. He's not talking proper King's English. He's pronouncing it like how just the way how he talks. Well, okay.
Since Muhammad died. How do you do this? Ancient Red Bull? Is it just me? Or was that easier than you thought it was going to be? Yeah. This expansion happened under the Rashidun and then the Umayyad Caliphates. Their rulers were caliphs or successors, and the Umayyad Caliphate was based here in Damascus, Syria. But the Umayyads had some internal issues. Their caliphate excluded non-Arabs from positions of power even if they were Muslim. Millions of Christians, Jews and non-Arab Muslims like Iranians, Egyptians and Berbers living in the massive empire's recently conquered lands were not huge fans of this policy. Spotting this weakness, Abu al-Abbas, with huge support from Iranians, destroyed the Umayyad armies, wiped out the dynasty and founded the Abbasid Caliphate in its place in 750 CE.
Bro, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand because the Abbasid Caliphate, right? Is it a whole different entity, or is it basically just the like Umayyad Caliphate? Like, what? I mean, it had the same territory. Same line. It's just that the dynasty changed. It's basically like the same country, right? Right?
The new Abbasid Caliphate needed a capital away from Arabia and Syria and closer to where its power base was, Iran. The second Abbasid Caliph, Al-Mansur, located a strategic spot in Mesopotamia that already had a small market town called Suk Baghdad. This town was ancient. It was even mentioned in documents from King Hammurabi's time, around 1750 BCE. Geographically, it was perfect. Right in the middle of the trade routes between the Persian Gulf, Armenia, Egypt, Syria, China, and the Byzantine Empire.
What? Wow.
Right between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
Crazy how the Bible say that the Tigris River and the Euphrates River is drying up. We're in the end times, people. Go read Revelation, man.
Founded in 762 CE, the city went by a few names, like Mandinat al-Salam, the City of Peace. But it seems like the old market town's name, Baghdad, stuck. Al-Mansur had the city built in a perfect circle, around 2.7 kilometers in diameter, protected by 3 concentric brick walls and a fancy moat.
What is this? Attack on Titan?
The city had 4 massive gates from which came 4 roads. Each gate was named for the city it faced: Damascus, Basra, Kufa and Khorasan. These connected Baghdad to the world but made it clear that this city was the symbolic center of a new world. Behind each gate were 3 arcades lined with markets acting like the arteries of the city. Between these main streets were the residential neighborhoods. At the core of the city was a huge open green space. There you could find the caliph's palace of the Golden Gate, topped with a giant green dome, with the central mosque by its side. The city was surrounded by a network of canals, creating fertile land for agriculture. The city had thousands of fountains and public baths open to everyone. People would walk near the streams, spread out on the grass and collect fruit and flowers from the stunning gardens across the city. In its large parks you could see horse racing and polo, or if you wanted to, you could visit the zoo, displaying lions, elephants, giraffes and all sorts of wild animals. On the canals, dotted with palm trees, you could see thousands of gondolas dancing like sunbeams on the water, carrying the inhabitants of the city from one part of Baghdad to the other. And according to legend, the city had no mosquitoes, which is very important because 1. Mosquitoes are pure evil, and 2. Malaria, not fun.
I was terrified of mosquitoes living in the Caribbean when I lived in my country. Caribbean, tropical paradise, woohoo! It's also a paradise for these type of things. Yeah, I was freaking out, man. Malaria and dengue fever and yellow fever. That was actually a really big scare, especially during wet season when they would go and breed when it would be raining a lot, because when it's super wet, which is probably why they did not have mosquitoes in Baghdad, because desert, not really ideal for mosquitoes to breed. Mosquitoes like to breed in wet, damp, rainy environments because that's where their babies hatch. Yeah, that was scary. I was terrified of that as a kid going out. That was a really big scare. Again, you see, a lot of people would not understand, but that was just probably a unique thing for me because I grew up on a tropical island. So
the round city looks cool. It only lasted for about 70 years. You see, his palace in the center was supposed to protect the caliph because there were hundreds of thousands of peasants between the caliph and whoever wanted to kill him. It was like a great wall of peasants. Which is a great idea until you realize that also meant once enemy troops took over the city, there was no way for the caliph to escape. The Great Wall of Peasants is kind of sneaky that way. The increasingly busy and chaotic markets inside the walls seemed like a security risk, so the Caliph al-Mansur moved them outside the walls where suburbs were already growing rapidly. The round city was swallowed up by the thriving suburbs and soon vanished. Now the whole area was Baghdad. The bricks of the round city's walls were used to build this new growing Baghdad, and it became this cosmopolitan trading hub linking the east and the west.
Wow.
As far as the Baltic to Madagascar to China.
What in the world, dude? It's kind of heartbreaking seeing what Baghdad is today. And it's not its fault. It's just really unfortunate that the Middle East today it's just heartbreaking, frankly speaking. It has such a rich history, and the countries today just does not reflect that, man. There's Saudi Arabia, yeah, there is. But aside from that, I mean, Turkey's kinda up there too. Kinda up there. There's not really any country to really and truly reflect the rich history today that the Middle East has. And it's just sad to see especially Baghdad, dude. Baghdad, Aleppo, like super, super rich cities, man, with such rich histories, and it's just so sad to see what it turned out to be. It is. I mean, it really and truly. I can't say nothing else.
Furs from Russia, African gold, Indonesian spices, Indian steel, silks from China, you could find all of it in Baghdad. They traded so widely that this bronze cross with an Arabic inscription that says Bismillah, which means in the name of God, was discovered in a bog in Ireland, which is a fair bit away from Baghdad.
That's very far.
Era, the city reached 1 million inhabitants, making it the world's largest city, truly the metropolis of its time. And Baghdad under the rule of its most famous caliph, Harun al-Rashid. Harun was the son of the third caliph, al-Mahdi, by one of his wives, al-Hazuran, who is a fascinating woman, by the way. Al-Hazuran was a slave given to al-Mahdi by his father. At the time, many of the concubines of nobles were well educated. Some learned writing, poetry, music, dance, history, philosophy, and science. Al-Mahdi fell madly in love with Hazuran. She convinced him not only to free her from slavery, but also to make her his official wife. And she used this to gain considerable power. She sat with her husband at court, which was unusual at the time, and met with his ministers behind the scenes. She discussed state business with generals and foreign diplomats and managed the empire's administration. She made sure her sons, Musa al-Hadi and Harun al-Rashid, were placed ahead of the caliph's other sons. As heirs to the empire.
What?
Wealth to fund canal building in Baghdad, and it is said that a quarter of the city was named after her. She built wells and shade-giving trees along pilgrimage routes to Mecca, and on one of her own pilgrimages, she bought the house in which Prophet Muhammad was born and turned it into a mosque. You can still go see it today, but it's a library now.
What? There's just a library? Nothing special? What? Kind of underwhelming for a place where somebody as important as Prophet Muhammad was born in. Very interesting. Alright, I'm gonna go and switch my accent and talk back in King's English. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Al-Mahdi died suddenly in 785 CE, which threw the empire into chaos. But Hazuran took control of the situation and secured a smooth transition of power to her older son, Musa al-Hadi. She stopped a military rebellion and had all of the military officers and court officials swear allegiance to her son, who wasn't even in Baghdad yet. And how does al-Hadi repay his mother? He gets jealous of her power, tries to push her out of political life, publicly humiliates her several times, and some sources say he even tried to have his own mother poisoned. After a year of ruling, al-Hadi died of poisoning. So be nice to your mother. The new caliph, Harun al-Rashid, adored his mother. When Hazuran died in November of 789, Harun helped carry her body barefoot through the mud on a rainy day as a sign of respect for the woman behind the reign of 3 caliphs. During his reign, Harun fought off invasions and rebellions to maintain his empire that spanned from India to North Africa. He forced the Byzantine Empire to pay him tribute, and during his reign, wealth poured into Baghdad. He was helped by the fact that the Abbasid military made a lot of improvements on the battlefield. From little things like adopting the stirrups in cavalry, which attached the rider to the horse, to the use of naphtha, a refined version of petroleum used in fire-based warfare. They developed these fire grenades called naphtha shells to throw at the enemy, and a section of the Abbasid army were called naphtha firemen, archers that specialised in flaming arrows, who, very wisely, wore fireproof suits that let them rush into the cities and castles that they had just set on fire. They also had a
What? What is this modern warfare type of tactic skill that I see?
ambulance corps. This line is just in here because I liked it. They're camels. They're the llamas of the desert. The Abbasids oversaw a global network of merchants, spies, and diplomats stretching from France to China. Harun al-Rashid once sent gifts to the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. These gifts included silks, spices, books, and Abul Abbas, who...
Bro, I love silk. Silk. I sleep on a silk pillow, and my bed sheet is literally silk. Mostly because silk is the least harmful material for your face, and it prevents your face from getting cuts and bruises when you're asleep. Because when you're asleep, you're moving around. Well, I move around in my sleep. When you're asleep and you're moving around a lot. Yeah, you could cut your face and damage it. A lot of people don't know that.
Was an elephant. Getting the elephant to France was probably pretty difficult, but once it arrived, Charlemagne was obsessed. Legend says he took Abul Abbas to battlefields and on travels, and when Charlemagne died, his remains were wrapped in a silk with an elephant print, which is just adorable.
It really is.
Charlemagne sent each other a lot of gifts and bonded over their shared hatred of the Byzantine Empire. Harun actually wrote a fairly sassy letter to the Byzantine Emperor that I love. It says, "The least of the territories ruled by the least of my subjects provides a revenue larger than your whole dominion." Harun...
No! Violation!
Oh, a great patron of the arts. Under his
bro. Look, I know the Roman Empire was declining hard at that point, but like, oh, that's so no. That's probably like easily top 5 most disrespectful moments I've ever heard throughout history, bro. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh, you know what is interesting to me though is the territories that the Romans had that was conquered by the Muslims. It was wealthy for the Muslims, but my question would be, if it was wealthy for the Muslims, Why was it not wealthy for the Romans? I always wondered that.
Full of artists, scholars, and poets from 3 continents. This is how Harun al-Rashid ended up in one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time, Alf Layla wa Layla, or...
Bro, I swear, how can people read Arabic? I look at Arabic, and I'm like, yeah, no, there's no way in hell I will learn this. Like right now, I'm learning a freaking second language, freaking hell. But like Arabic, yeah, no, I don't know, man. Then again, freaking the language I'm learning right now, I thought I would never be learning a couple years ago, but I jinxed myself. I hope I don't jinx myself. Next thing you know, I'm freaking teaching myself how to speak Arabic.
The 1001 Nights, or Arabian.
Oh my gosh.
The 1001 Nights is a collection of folk stories. The story of its origins say that an Iranian king called Shahryar marries a woman and then she cheats on him. And so, he murders her. He marries many more times, but he has trust issues now, and so he kills every single one of his new brides. Side note, therapy did not exist yet. He then marries a woman called Shahrazad. On the first night after their marriage, she tells him a story that ends in a cliffhanger that she will only finish the next day. She does this for 1,000 nights and a night. The stories interest King Shahryar so much that he doesn't kill her, and they also make him wiser, less murdery, and make him fall deeply in love with Shahrazad. And they live happily ever after. She was fine with all of the previous murder apparently. Because Shahrazad told so many tales, it was easy for anyone to add or subtract stories to the collection. Aladdin, Sinbad the Sailor, and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves are all tales from this book that were added at a later point. Some of the major protagonists of 1001 Nights are Harun al-Rashid and his vizier Jafar. Yeah, this is the Jafar that inspired the Disney villain. The real Jafar actually came from a powerful family called the Barmakids, who were originally Buddhist from Afghanistan. Jafar convinced Harun to open the first paper-making houses in Baghdad, as the Arabs had just learned how to make paper from the Chinese, and paper was much more efficient as it was cheaper and easier to make than parchment made from animal skin, and don't even get me started on papyrus.
Paper come from trees. Paper come from trees, but like, how in the hell does that process work?
Paper combined with
now that I think about it,
people, cultures, and languages created an intellectual revolution. Arabic was the language of the empire, but scholars in Baghdad became experts in translation. In Baghdad, you could find people reading the words of Aristotle or the Buddha, all the way to the Hindu Vedas and Zoroaster. Jews, Manichaeans, Christians, Zoroastrians, Buddhists, and Hindus met and exchanged ideas. One result of this exchange was Arabic numerals, the ones that we use today, including the revolutionary number 0. These originated in India, were improved on by scholars in Baghdad, and then spread from the Middle East to Europe.
Yeah, very interesting how we use Arabic numerals. That's like a legacy of how great the Arab Golden Age was, man. Or Islamic Golden Age. I don't know. It was called either or, right? Arab Golden Age, Islamic Golden Age, right? Still though, it really does go to like tell you, goes to show you, I should better say, like how impactful and how great this period was, man. How influential this period really was, that we're literally still using Arabic freaking numbers. And thank God we are. Oh my gosh. I looked at Roman numerals. Ugh, that is just no. Thank God for Arabic numerals, bruh.
Baghdad was a crossroads of knowledge filled with schools and libraries, the most important of which was the House of Wisdom. We don't know much about it, but it looks like this was a combined library, academy, and research institute that welcomed scholars from around the world
Did they
to
get
translate,
burnt down?
preserve, and debate their works.
Did they get burnt down?
Al-Mamun's son, the Caliph Al-Mamun,
Did they get burnt
the House of
down?
Wisdom became the world's largest library and the most important storage
happened
site
to
of
it?
knowledge since the Library of Alexandria, with books in Arabic, Greek, Latin, Persian, Syriac, Chinese, and Sanskrit. Many ancient Greek texts only survived due to Arabic translations of them, which made their way into Europe during the Renaissance.
What?
Greek philosophy influenced the Middle East so heavily that the Arabic word for philosophy is just falsafa, which is just philosophy said differently. Here you can see an Arabic painting of Socrates, or in Arabic, Socrates,
Makes sense.
teaching his students.
Oh, wow.
Caliph Al-Mamun paid scholars to travel abroad and bring back books. Once those books got to Baghdad, they were copied, translated, and sent to other scholars across the empire. After wars, Mamun would actually demand books when negotiating peace treaties. He became so obsessed with collecting genius, he apparently offered the Byzantine emperor £2,000 of gold for a mathematician called Leo living in Constantinople. They refused the offer. If Leo had moved to Baghdad though, he would have had quite the life. One scholar, the Nestorian Christian Hunyan ibn Ashak, lived in a mansion and received a massage and manicure daily. One scholar said about Baghdad, "Nowhere in the world have I seen better financial arrangements to assist a scholar." This thirst for knowledge sparked the Islamic Golden Age. Just a quick note about this
Well, my question was answered.
name. It's called the Islamic Golden Age, but many Zoroastrians, Christians, and Jews contributed. The Golden Age included people from Central Asia to Iberia. It was
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Like, obviously. Come on now. Obviously. It's smart. Like I said, in my, what was it? I think it's my little recent video that I uploaded, the one before this, I pointed out how the only reason why America is, like, so great with technology and blah, 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 isn't really because of Americans. It's just Americans, the richest country in the world, so all the educated people are usually coming here. So
successful because the caliphs built a multicultural empire obsessed with learning. Some scholars have actually suggested using the name Arabic Golden Age because the main language was Arabic, but it's still being debated. The House of Wisdom brought together different scientific traditions from around the world.
So my questions were answered. Interesting.
They saw the differences between Iranian, Indian, and Greek texts, which meant they couldn't all be right. So these scholars didn't just copy and translate books, they tested them, they commented on them, and they developed new ideas around them. Like algebra, invented by Al-Khwarizmi. He combined
Why? I struggle so hard at school because of freaking algebra, bruh. Why did you have to invent this? Although, frankly speaking, I feel like I struggle mostly because I hated going to school and I was like super stressed. I was like dealing with a lot of domestic issues at home, which kind of like blanked out my freaking brain. Because now when I look at algebra now, I'm like, how in the world did I not understand this? Granted, everything is kind of better for me right now, and I'm like not in school right now and I'm older. I will be going to college though, 100%. But I just took like a break year to try and focus on other stuff before I head to college. But yeah, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Indian and Greek mathematical ideas and made something new, mathematics without numbers, like when you calculate with X and Y. This completely revolutionized science and made me fail maths class. It's only
So true, bro. When you put the words on algebra, yeah.
Khwarizmi that we can use algorithms, for example. The word algorithm is just a mangled Latinized version of Al-Khwarizmi's name, from Al-Khwarizmi to Algorithmus to algorithm. Baghdad led the world in cartography and astronomy. Scholars in Baghdad upgraded the astrolabe, a device that measures the incline of an object and can help navigate over sea and land. An experiment funded by Caliph Mamun, which included an astronomer called Al-Farghani, calculated the circumference of the Earth to be about 38,000 kilometers, which is about 4% off the real number. Some Italian guy called Christopher Columbus actually used Al-Fergani's calculations for a voyage that he was planning, but he converted the Arabic miles incorrectly and thought the Earth was about half the size it actually was. He got very lucky that he crashed into a continent. Caliph Mahmud.
Yeah. I did hear about that guy who literally, he honestly, guys, let's real 4% off. He basically guessed the Earth's circumference correctly. Let's be real. And the fact that he didn't even have technology. The fact that he didn't have technology, bruh. And he was only 4% off. I'm gonna give him credit where credit is due. Okay? Because the way because I did hear about his story. He was bound to be like inaccurate. Really and truly, but the fact that he was like that close is insane, really insane. Goes to show how smart the guy was, honestly, man. And technically, he was like what, the first person to kind of like prove the Earth was round in a sense, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Funded the construction of the world's first scientific observatory in Baghdad, and scholars there became experts in the stars. That's why there are so many stars with Arabic names. The Big Dipper's 7 stars.
I don't know anything about stars, to be honest.
Over time, some star names have been Latinized, but most of these stars got their names more than 1,000 years ago.
What in the world?
Alcohol, algebra, algorithm are all Arabic names. They also developed
alcohol,
a way of separating liquids through differences in their boiling
That is
points.
wild.
This meant that they could make some really strong alcohol, which wasn't banned in Islam yet, but actually the main application of distillation was to produce scents. Distilled rose water, for example, was used as perfume, especially beard perfume, but was also added to cosmetics, foods, and drinks. They also popularized hard soap and had massive soap factories. As a person has to get on packed trains regularly, I am extremely grateful for this. Is that rose water? They perfected the distillation of crude oil into kerosene for lamps, a process without which we wouldn't have gasoline, asphalt, or plastic.
Bro, this is mind-boggling. What in the world, bro? Damn. I see a lot of Westerners. They like to talk about Western inventions, bro. And, you know, guys, don't take this the wrong way, especially my Western audience. But you gotta give credit to the Arabs, man. Like they really did have like a lot. Okay, gotta give credit where credit is
from the
due.
early 13th century of Muslims paving their streets with asphalt, something that wouldn't be seen anywhere else till Paris paved their streets with asphalt in 1838.
What?
In 805 CE, the first general hospital opened in Baghdad. Soon there were 30 more throughout the empire. Some developments included separating wards by disease, having in-hospital pharmacies, and keeping patient medical records. They even had psychiatric wards. This was revolutionary in a time when the mentally ill were thought to be possessed by demons in many parts of the world. These were the first modern hospitals where doctors followed the code of obligation towards their patients, regardless of their wealth, religion, or background. All doctors had to pass examinations in order to practice. These were the first medical diplomas.
Wow.
They also invented studies, clinical trials, and testing medicine on animals before humans. These doctors invented hundreds of surgical instruments and new techniques. For example, cataracts is a condition that clouds the lenses of the eye, and it ruined many lives in the ancient world. But we have descriptions from the 10th century Islamic world of a procedure that involves sucking the cataracts out of the eye through a syringe.
Oh, I've heard of this.
A procedure similar to what modern medicine used up until laser surgery took over in the late 20th century. They also had these devices that boring historians called automata. But I'm no historian. Their rules don't bind me. These are robots. Super cool medieval robots. Some of these automated machines are described in an amazingly titled book called The Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. Some devices described are an automatic water and soap dispenser, a giant elephant clock, a boat with a full robot band,
That's cool.
a programmable flute that plays itself,
That's
which
cool.
seems to be humanity's first programmable machine.
That's
They also
really
describe
cool.
a very elaborate way of playing spin the bottle.
Bro, what in the world? Bro, can we get the hours to like take over the world, bro? Oh my goodness, bro. Imagine a timeline where everything went well for the Arabs and they took over the world, bro. Like, what in the world? We would actually have flying cars. We would have flying cars today, bro. We would have flying cars today, bro. Seriously, man. What? Again, I'm not downplaying Western accomplishments. I'm not. Alright? Even he himself literally said in the video, it wasn't just the Arabs who did this stuff as well. But still, like, the fact that Europe was... That's the thing about Europe. Throughout most of history, Europe is always behind when you truly think about it. That's a very icky thing to say. Scratching fire with that one. But when you really and truly think about it, compare Europe to China. China was also doing quite good. In fact, China was doing so good that it didn't even need to colonize anywhere. You compare Europe to this, the Middle East, Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Again, fair take. Although, you know, you have stuff like the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire that span much more continents, and here's the thing though, is even with the Roman Empire, their rich provinces weren't even in Europe. Actually, yeah, their rich provinces actually were outside of Europe, which is in Egypt and elsewhere. So, but you know, you do have Hannibal and what the heck, Carthage. Hannibal, I mean, he used the Iberian mines, which had a bunch of minerals, so to make Carthage recover from the First Punic War. So hey, okay, not all of Europe was bad, but still, I'm just saying, like, compare to other major places in the world. Heck, I could probably even go as far as to say, at a certain point, many parts of sub-Saharan Africa was doing better than Europe to a certain degree, but then eventually Europe would obviously come and overtake it, just how Europe would come and overtake every other part of the world. That eventually happened. But it's really weird because Europe really just was always behind.
This multi-storied robot was a whole party in itself. It was placed in the middle of a room. The first floor had a girl pouring wine. The second floor provided the music with 4 women playing instruments. The third floor was the entertainment, a male dancer, and at the top was a horseman carrying a lance. He would spin round, and every 20 minutes the horseman would stop. The lucky person that ended up in front of the lance would drink the whole liter of wine that the first robot girl was pouring. This just sounds like a really fun party to me. This golden age thrived for a couple of centuries, but in 1258 CE, the Mongol leader Hulagu, grandson of Genghis Khan, conquered the city. They burned it down, destroyed the House of Wisdom, massacred the population, and killed the caliph. Legends say that the Tigris River ran red with the blood of the city's citizens, and then afterwards it ran black with the ink of its libraries. The fall of Baghdad to the Mongols ended the Abbasid Caliphate, but Baghdad as a city still attracted scholars well into the 15 and 1600s. It never completely vanished, and so the city standing today has been occupied since at least the times of Hammurabi. Today, little of what the
That is
Abbasids built,
crazy,
one
man.
of the few survivors is the Great Mosque of Samarra, which gives us a glimpse of what they were capable of. Baghdad and most of Iraq would go on to be conquered by the Ottomans and then colonized by the British Empire. The city was chosen to be the capital of the Republic of Iraq.
What? Why would he say colonize? Just say conquer, dude. What? Like, the Ottomans colonized Baghdad too. What the heck? The Turks aren't native to Baghdad, but he used what? Why would he use a different term, bro? Okay, look. I know this is gonna seem like so petty, but seriously, this is what I hate. People are misusing words, and then I have people in my comments who are like getting angry at me because they're like, oh, colonization bad. Then I have to explain them what colonization is, and they're taking colonization for conquer or something like that. Or I have morons that I meet in real life who look at me and tell me, oh my goodness, you're kissing up to your colonizer because you're proud of your heritage. And I look at them, I'm like, you do realize that my country was literally uninhabited and built from scratch, right? Like, I guys, I literally had people look at me unironically, dead to my face, and say, you're kissing up to colonizers who came and brutally wiped out your people when there was literally no one on the island when the English, actually it was the Spanish that arrived, hence it's actually pronounced Barbados, which literally means bearded ones, but still, you get the point. The English literally stole the island from the Spanish, hilariously enough. The Spanish didn't build anything on it. The English saw the note from the Spanish saying, hey, this is our island. The English they didn't care. They took it anyways. So no.
Iraq in 1958. Terrorism and a decade-long occupation by the United States military have destroyed much of the city. But today, in a recover in Baghdad, you can still walk down Mutanabi Street, a 1,000-year-old street dedicated to booksellers and readers, and take part in Baghdad's ancient obsession with sharing knowledge.
Adorable that still exists. Unfortunately, US imperialism has made things worse for the city. Sad. So sad. Speaking of US imperialism, I gotta go and drop my Operation Iraqi Freedom reaction video again because a lot of people didn't understand what I was saying in my last reaction to that video. You know what? I'm probably gonna drop it this week, probably tomorrow. So stick out for that because I have a lot to say. It's going to ruffle so many American feathers, but it is what it is. Look, man, you made it all the way to the end of this video. Go like and subscribe. If you got any suggestions for me to react to, go suggest it in the comments down below. If you like what I have to say in my videos, go and subscribe, right? You know what I mean. Thank you for watching, man, and goodbye.